One slate. One slate. Proof's in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. I'm not going to lie. Actually, wearing those sunglasses isn't too bad. I have light shining on me for the video, so it's actually kind of nice having those on. But come on, man. Like, you literally, it's just right. It's not possible to run worse than me. There's no way, right? Hitting everything else, ejection and an injury in the same day. I have Kawhi Leonard over assist last night. Easily going to hit. You better believe he gets injured. It's just like, come on, right? Like, come on. There's just no one. There's no one. No one that runs worse. No one. You can't do an injury and an ejection, right? That can't happen. It can't happen. All right, let's recap everything I haven't uploaded for the last couple days. I apologize for that, but we're back on the grind. So let's go over my lineups for the last couple days. We'll tilt some things. So this was Friday's slate. We went with I guess it's a couple Wizards with Denny and Porzingis. Stacked the Blazers. That game turned a massive blowout. Got Schroeder at relatively low ownership. D'Lo got ruled out late. Melton, 2 quick ones. That's what I'm talking about, right? Quick ones on a low owned Melton cost me a lot of money. Vucevic, you better believe he picked up 2 quick ones that day too. Massive blowout too to bail out the faders, right? So still cashed, still a good night, but still ran awful. Oh, this was just not. This was Saturday, nah, right? Nope. Looking like I'm gonna have a huge night. Random massive blowouts everywhere for everyone in my lineup. Random massive blowout in Philly. Yes, it was random. Random massive blowout for the Clippers as well. Westbrook smashing in the first half. Negative fantasy points in the second half. Melton, oh, you better believe he got in foul trouble again here. It's just like, come on, so close. Looking like it was a big night. Blowouts for everyone, for me. More proof, right? And then tonight, right? It's just, you can't run worse than me. You know, Wright, Sharp, Brown, Eubanks smashing. Oh, how about, okay, so Smart ejected. Watford injured. Dillon Brooks at no ownership. 2 quick ones. Comes in to start the second quarter. You better believe it's number 3, right to the bench. Barely plays the first half for unowned Dillon Brooks. So we have an ejection, an injury, and massive foul trouble for Brooks. It's just right? Like, I know you guys all know that I run awful, but we still have to discuss it, right? We still have to recap and just let everyone know that it's just like, wow, there's just no one runs worse. Really isn't. There really isn't. It's just impossible. I came close to taking down the early slate, and I did not have Kobe White, who had a ceiling game at like 6K that for some reason some people played, so that was a little bit tilting too. But that's a recap of everything DFS wise. Now, as far as prize picks goes, it has been a heater. I know I haven't uploaded the last couple days, but this was Friday night. Full sweep. You better believe that's a 25x. Finally, didn't run awful there in prize picks. Hit all 6 plays. Love that. We hit day 1, and then we just hit day 2 of the ladder challenge as well. This was day 2 a couple days ago. It was a push because Kawhi got injured. He had 4 assists at half, and he gets injured. That's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about with no one running worse. This was last night. I was looking like I was going to have a full sweep. Kawhi gets injured. Westbrook literally goes for negative fantasy points in the second half. Massive blowout, too. It's like, what? And then this was a sweat, but it hit. Jaren Jackson Jr. coming through big. Last 3 days, we went 6-0 on Friday, 3-1-1 on Saturday, and then it went 3-2 today overall. So, been a really good stretch for Prize Picks. I will have a video up after this if you guys are curious. And we're moving on to day 3. Maybe we can advance from day 3 of the ladder challenge. Last couple times we've not been able to. But yes, that's the recap of everything, guys. Hope you had a good night. And let's talk about this 8-game slate. Quickly, though, again, the sponsor of the video is Prize Picks. We talked about it. But if you guys are not familiar, it's a player prop site. You build 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 player props and win up to 25 extra money. I'll have a link in the description as well. But make sure to use the code DKDFS for 100% match up to $100. It's a free $100 to play with on the site. And if you're looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon. I have DFS and Prize Picks packages. If you're looking for more Prize Picks plays or just more in-depth content for DFS, link down below. All right, Dallas and Indiana, it's the first game here. So for Dallas, Luka Doncic picked up his 16th technical, so he'll be out for this game. So you should have Kyrie Irving running the show sub 10K. He's been really quiet of late, but I think he is too cheap. I think without Luka, he should be about a low 10K player, low to mid 10K player. So he's at 9.8 in a great matchup. I do like Kyrie quite a bit. Christian Wood, minutes, 17 last game, but previous to that, he's been playing mid-20s. Without Luka, they could rely on him a little bit more, but it's just it's never a good feeling because his minutes are never secure. But he'll be productive when he's in the court. Just a matter of how many minutes he's going to play. So I always like his upside in tournaments. If you get the game where Wood pushes for 30+ minutes, he could smash. Tim Hardaway Jr. is 5'5". He'll play probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30, somewhere in the mid to 25 to 35 minutes. He plays well, could play a bit more. Hardy, I think, is a bit pricey. I know he had that one big game when it was either Luka or Kyrie missed, I forget, and he kind of nuked off the bench. But that was definitely an outlier. I don't think I can get to him coming off the bench. Bullock at 4.3, Kleba at 3.6. They're reasonable. They're going to play a good chunk of minutes. Dwight Powell got benched last game, so that's Dallas. Moving on to the Pacers. So we got Haliburton and Turner questionable. Kind of hoping they play. I don't like Pacers slates. I really don't. It's just Carlisle always is a troll. I just don't want to deal with it. So I'm really hoping they both play. Now, if they both miss, so if Haliburton misses, it really benefits, Nembhard and McConnell. McConnell should play mid-20s minutes on the bench. He would probably be my favorite play on the Pacers. Nembhard would start, probably play 25 to 30 minutes. He'd be a reasonable option. Then more usage for guys like Hield. Nwora had a huge game last game. Mathurin, Naismith. Those guys all look better if Haliburton misses. Then if Miles Turner misses, you should get the combination of Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson splitting the center position. I would like both quite a bit. Both are good point per minute guys with Jackson and with Smith. So if you get them splitting the center position, I think both would be great value. So keep an eye on that. O'Shea Brissett will be in the rotation as well. He only played 7 minutes last game, but probably would play a bit more if there's no Haliburton and Turner just because, another body. But yeah, so that's big news again. And if Haliburton and Turner are in, then I think Haliburton and Turner are reasonable plays. Buddy Hield will still be playable. If you want to target Nwora off the bench, that's fine. But his minutes fluctuate. You saw what he did last game, but you can this is also his floor. He does have a relatively low floor too. So I'm gonna feel a lot better about these secondary plays if Haliburton and Turner both sit. Milwaukee and Detroit. So you got Giannis probable. No one else really important. Jay Crowder status is probable as well. So I don't really think I can get to any of the secondary plays here from Milwaukee. I think it's really just Giannis for me. Who there's blowout risk here, but if the game stays competitive and you get low to mid 30s minutes from Giannis, yes, clearly the ceiling is there. Moving on to the Pistons, it's just a team that for tournaments Ivy, they're running a relatively tight rotation, but price points are now about right. 7-1 for Ivy, 6-6 for Hayes. Can these guys still have good games at the price points? Yeah, but it's a little bit less likely. Bagley, we've seen some big games from him. We've also seen a low floor. Wiseman at 5-7. If he stays out of foul trouble, I think it's fine, but he's splitting minutes right now with Jalen Duren at 5K. It's just Magruder might be back. Corey Joseph also questionable. It's not huge news if he misses. Probably Hampton gets a little bit more run. Amourier, it's just There's nothing I love on the Pistons. Houston and New York, it's the same thing we've been talking about with Houston. Another tournament team for me. Not the best matchup, but these guys are playing huge minutes. They're running 8-man rotation. So KPJ, Green, Şengün, I like their upside quite a bit. I think if the game stays competitive, one of those guys will have a really good game. Smith, Martin are kind of secondary plays. I think my boy Tari Eason a little bit pricey. I guess he did play. His minutes have ticked up of late a bit, actually. I take that back. Well, hold on. Is Jason Tate? If Jason Tate is continuing to be out, then I do have some interest in Tari Eason. I didn't even realize that his minutes I guess this game was a blowout, though. This game was kind of a blowout. I don't know. Like, he gets extended if the game blows out. I'm going to say he's playable in tournaments. I think on average, you're probably seeing 25 minutes from him. But yeah, I don't think I'm less than anyone else. Maybe like Christopher, probably see some rotation minutes, but not enough for me to get to him. On the Knicks side, I mean, can we talk about the Knicks that last slate? I mean, come on. I literally had the nuts if Brunson would have just played. Brunson misses, I stack the Knicks, and I get punished. RJ Barrett, Josh Hart. How can someone explain to me how this happened? 14 fantasy points in 30 minutes for RJ Barrett. And Josh Hart, who's been ultra consistent, 29 minutes, 18 fantasy points. But with a fully healthy team, he's putting up 30 a night, right? Just, come on. How did the Faders know? How did the Faders know that would happen? How did they know that Quentin Grimes would have a career game? How did they know? A 50 bomb for Grimes. So I had Grimes too, but I literally had everyone else in the Knicks, so it just didn't matter. But that was just a little bit outrageous of a game from Quentin Grimes, to be honest. Now, if Brunson plays, I think it would mainly just be Brunson, Randall, and then a little bit interested in the centers with Robinson and Hartenstein. If Brunson misses, you have to have short-term memory. Quickly would still be a good play at that price. Randall would be a good play at the top. And I would like Barrett and Hart a good amount. I know they burned me last slate, but I'm fine going right back to the well. Robinson played 30-plus minutes last game, and he's splitting with Hartenstein, so it's basically a full 48 with those two combined. Grimes, if there's no Brunson, I think it's fine. I think it'll definitely be over-owned. So if Brunson gets ruled out, we'll see what the ownership comes in on him. But if he's like pretty popular, I'll probably fade. His last game was very clearly an outlier game from him. Phoenix and Utah. So DeAndre Ayton's expected back here. It's a good matchup. I think the top three guys look fine in Booker, Paul, Ayton. Ayton, if there's no limitations, would be my favorite at 7-4, but there could be some sort of a limit. He's been out for 10 days. Paul, 7-4, should play low 30s minutes, and Booker should play mid to high 30s minutes, be their number one option. If you want to mess with these wings in tournaments, be my guest. This group of like a Koji and Warren and Ross and Craig and Shamet, like I don't really know how the minutes are kind of fluctuating for these guys. Last couple games, it has been Warren and Ross playing really well off the bench, but kind of feels like a chase. Like I don't think we continue to expect Warren and Ross to average like 30 fancy points a game. So, right, like it's very clearly an outlier back-to-back games for Ross. So, like I have interest in both those guys, but I feel like they're going to be a bit overowned too. For Utah, we got to keep an eye on the status with Lauri Markkanen. No Clarkson, no Sexton, no Gay. If Markkanen's out, then I think the guy that stands out the most for me probably would be Kelly Olynyk. I know the minutes aren't great, but he just gets the big usage bump. Almost had a triple-double last game, so would like Olynyk a good amount, even at the price point. Kessler, THT would be fine. Dunn will back up THT, probably mid-20s minutes. Obachi, Fontecchio, they should see a lot of run. But at their price points, it's like, I don't love either. Azubuike probably gets a little bit of the backup 5 run. I just don't really trust his bench rotation. JTA, it's so gross. Like JTA, Johnny Juzeg. It's such a disgusting bench right now for the Jazz. But and then if Lauri Markkanen plays, I'm probably just going to stay away from this team. Philadelphia, Denver. So this one should be a great game to watch. I'm hoping everyone's available for this game because I really want to watch it. Embiid versus Jokic. Like, yeah, that's a game I want to watch. But yeah, Embiid and Harden both questionable. I'm pretty sure Embiid's going to play. He's been questionable for like 10 straight games, and I feel like he just plays every single time. I think Harden's more 50-50. He's missed the last couple of games. So we'll talk about it really quick. If both are out, which I don't think will happen, but if both are out, then it's Maxey, it's Harris, it's Melton running the show. Paul Reed should play a good amount off the bench. Milton will look good. Even some of these wings like Niang, McDaniels would be playable. If Embiid is in, Harden is out, then I like Embiid 11-5. I think he would be a little bit too cheap. And then Maxey, Harris, Melton will all be reasonable, but I wouldn't call any of those guys priorities. The prices have come up from when Harden's missed the last couple games. And you would see Shake Milton playing somewhere in the neighborhood of like low to mid-20s minutes off the bench. He would be a fine value. And then if Harden and Embiid are both in, I would say mainly just the top two. I don't think I'll get to anyone else. For Denver, so you got MPJ status up in the air. I'm pretty sure if he misses, you'll get Bruce Brown in the starting lineup. It's basically like if anyone misses outside of like Jokic, it's Bruce Brown that starts. He's been playing pretty solid minutes off the bench already. And I think if he starts, he probably plays mid-30s minutes. I would like Bruce Brown a good amount if there's no Michael Porter Jr. Jokic 11-4. I like his ceiling. Jokic against Embiid. Obviously, there's some foul risk with these guys playing up against each other. But yeah, the ceiling's high on both. Jamal Murray, 7.9. Does have a 50 fantasy point upside. I like him for GPPs. Gordon's just fine. KCP's just fine. Again, Bruce Brown is playable either way, but would benefit if Michael Porter Jr. is out. Reggie's been out of the rotation. The backup center rotation is kind of a mess. I don't think I'll mess with it. You're seeing Jeff Green, Christian Brown kind of rounded out, but I don't think it's necessary to go to those guys. Minnesota, Sacramento. So for Minnesota, It's a back-to-back here. Cat played tonight, so if I had to guess, I would say Karl Anthony Towns does not play tomorrow, but don't know that for sure. I also want to see what the rotation looks like tonight to see how the minutes worked, how many minutes did Ant play, how many minutes did Cat play. So, like, it's a great matchup here for Minnesota, but if everyone plays, I don't know if I get to anyone. A lot of these guys priced up from when Cat and Ant were out. They're both, well, Ant's, I'm pretty sure will for sure play. I don't know about Cat. So if Karl Anthony Towns misses, then I like Ant at the top if he plays normal minutes. 8.8 would be a bit too cheap. And then, you know, Conley, McDaniels, Slow-Mo would be like secondary plays. Gobert would still be fine, but feels priced about right. And if Cat plays, I don't know if I can get to anyone on this team. Sacramento, so the big news is De'Aaron Fox. He's questionable. He missed last game. If De'Aaron Fox misses, so the ceiling goes up on Sabonis. We have seen like his role doesn't change too much when Fox is off the court. David Mitchell gets the biggest bump. He would start play 25 to 30 minutes. 4.5K. Still would have interest in him. The wings would all look better with Herter, Murray, Barnes. You saw all three have good games, but especially Kevin Herter. I just like 6.7K for Herter feels kind of like a lot. And if Fox is in, I'm not touching any of these guys. Monk randomly got benched. I mean, that kind of happened. We've seen it a couple times now where Fox misses. Everyone thinks Monk's going to play more. Like, if he doesn't play well, they will bench him. He's one of those guys where it's up and down. So, like, he's still playable in tournaments, but never a guarantee with his minutes. Trey Lyles' minutes have been ticking down, so can't go to him. And, yeah, that's Sacramento. So let's finish up here. Last couple of games. New Orleans, Portland. So this game looks appealing if it can stay competitive. Ingram, CJ, in a competitive game, I expect them to play close to 40 minutes. Back-to-back blowouts, though, were the reason that Ingram only played 34 and CJ's only played 36 and 35. But, again, this is a phenomenal spot. And JV, I still think is a little bit too cheap. He continues to play low to mid-30s minutes. If he continues to get these minutes, he should be like a 8.5 to 9K player. Right now, he's still sub 8K, so I know it's sticker shock, but the minutes have been super, super secure. So knowing my luck, I'll finally buy into JV here, and then they'll actually troll and go to Larry Nance. But if he continues to play low to mid-30s minutes, I still like JV. Murphy had a huge game last game, bit of an outlier, obviously, but he's a fine last piece in, as is Herb Jones. Richardson, Marshall, Nance will round out the rotation. If you think they troll with JV minutes, then you can take a shot on a cheap Larry Nance, but doesn't look like they're going that route as of right now. For Portland, so again, I had Watford. He was smashing in the first quarter, injured. Smart, ejected. Dylan Brooks, massive foul trouble. It's just like, again, right? Like I don't have to keep doing it, but I just want one more time. It's just not possible. There's no one that runs worse. No one. But yeah, so with Watford out, I assume that Little starts. I mentioned Little as a pivot off of chalk Keon Johnson tonight. That looked like it's going to work out in a big way. But yeah, so I don't think Watford will play. With that being said, they should have a starting lineup of Sharp, or Ryan Arcidiacono, Sharp, Thibault, Little, Eubanks. If the game stays competitive, there's a lot to like here for Portland. Sharp should run the show offensively. I think he looks good in the mid-range. Arcidiacono has not been great, but if he continues to start, he's fine for value. Eubanks looks great, especially if Watford can't play just because they don't have many bigs left behind him. You saw, or Thibault, minutes been a little bit up and down, but he'd be reasonable. Reddish off the bench would be playable. Keon Johnson be a solid value off the bench. He's kind of playing the backup point right now. He had a bit of an outlier game last game against Chicago, but I think he would still be a solid value. And if there's no Watford, which I don't think he'll play tomorrow because he tried to return and couldn't, then Jabari Walker intrigues me at 4-2. They did bump up his price, but he'll most likely play the backup 5. He's a good point per minute guy. I want to see how many minutes he played in the second half tonight, but I would have some interest in him too. We talked about Little. Little, assuming he starts, I think is one of the better values, sub 4K. You'll get Knox in the rotation. You might get a little bit of John Butler, to be honest, too. I think, Jabari Walker looks to be ahead of him in the rotation, but maybe he does get a few minutes as the backup 5. I would just rather take the shot at Walker, though, who does have the power forward eligibility. Finally, Chicago and the Clippers. So, as I mentioned, Kobe White has been playing out of his mind. I will not chase it. But yeah, 33, 28, 42, 33 fancy points for the last 5 games for Kobe. With a fully healthy team, it's Levine, it's DeRozan, it's Vooch's tournament plays. No standouts here. Same thing. Beverly feels priced about right. I think Io, Pat Williams, overpriced. Russo at 3.5 probably would be my favorite value play. Played 26 minutes tonight. A guy that, is just the cheapest of these guys and should play mid-20s minutes. So like Caruso. Drummond got extended a bit last game because of the ejection to Vooch. He's always a good point per minute guy, but most likely only plays, 10, 12 minutes. So more of a large field tournament play. Finally, the Clippers. So no Paul George, no Kawhi still. Or no Paul George, no Norman Powell, I should say. Kawhi is probable. I like Kawhi and I like Westbrook. I don't think they're going to be that popular. Last game was a massive blowout. Kawhi shot 4 of 16. Westbrook started really strong in the first half and then just did nothing in the second half. So I think both guys will be unowned in tournaments, but I like the upside in both. Like, you're going to get close to 40 minutes in Kawhi if this game's competitive, which it should, and Westbrook should play mid-30s minutes. I like both those guys as GPP plays. Zubac, Plumlee, they're splitting the center position. Tournament-only options for me. Gordon, Morris, Bones, Batum all feel too pricey for me. Terrence Mann at 4.8 also feels a bit overpriced. Like, all these secondary guys are just too pricey for me. I'm not going to mess with any of them. I think it's mainly just Kawhi and Westbrook. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the video. Again, apologize for not uploading the last couple of days. I'll have a prize picks one up after this. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you do enjoy, and we'll see you in the next video.